You lie still and the world around you seems to quiet, but somewhere, just beneath the silence, something moves. Not wind, not breath, but something finer. A thread of change. You don't see it. You can't hold it, but you feel it. Like a soft sigh, time slips past your skin, brushing your thoughts with moments you didn't even notice arriving. This is a second. Just one. Small. Gentle. So often ignored. But like the beat of your heart or the blink of your eye, it keeps you tethered to something larger than yourself. You live your entire life inside a string of seconds, and yet you've rarely been still enough to greet one. Tonight, you do. The second is not a thing you can break open or carry in your palm. It's a rhythm, not unlike the rhythm of a lullaby or the rocking of a cradle. You feel it in the ticking of clocks, yes, but also in how your breath rises then falls again, in the space between footsteps, in the slow blink before sleep. Clocks say a second is a fixed thing, 1/60th of a minute, 60 seconds to a minute, 60 minutes to an hour. But that's just the scaffolding. That's how we measure time, not how it lives. Time doesn't ask to be measured, it simply moves, forward, always forward, like ripples on water, like a hush spreading across a field. Long ago, people used the stars and the shadows to know when time passed. A sundial was a slow kind of whisper, a shadow crawling like a lazy cat across a stone face. That was enough. Enough to grow crops, to walk home before nightfall, to pray when the sun touched the horizon. A second wasn't needed. Life moved in larger beats. But as the world quickened, so did the need for finer slices. Bells rang on the hour. Work began and ended at precise moments. Seconds were no longer invisible. They became currency. You spend them. You save them. You say they are lost. But a second is never truly lost. It is only passed through. If you could catch one, just 1 second, what would it look like? Would it be gold and glowing? Would it be the colour of dawn or of old paper? Maybe it would have no colour at all. Maybe it would just be the feeling you get when someone you love says your name. A second is too soft for shape. It's the breath just before a kiss, the hush before a song begins. Your body keeps time even when you don't notice. Your heart beats a steady rhythm, about once every second, give or take. That beat is your personal metronome. Inside your brain, neurons fire, syncing thoughts in milliseconds. In fact, your perception of now, this moment, this breath, is only about 3 seconds long. That's all your mind can hold before it moves on. The present is tiny, and yet it's all you ever live in. Every second you experience is stacked with others behind it, a quiet procession of moments carrying your story. Some pass unnoticed, like a breeze that doesn't ruffle the leaves. Others stop you mid-step, turning everything on its head. A birth, a death, a laugh so full you forget the world for a moment. But even the ordinary seconds, the ones filled with dishes and sighs and waiting, they matter too. Without them, time would lose its thread. You may have felt seconds stretch before, in pain, in boredom, in waiting for something you needed, and you've felt them vanish too, in joy, in fear, in the rush of something new. This is because a second isn't just measured by clocks, it's also measured by memory, by emotion, by attention. A second spent in wonder feels longer than a minute spent in routine. Scientists once tried to define time by the Earth's rotation, but our planet doesn't spin perfectly, it wobbles, it drifts. So we looked smaller, deeper, more precise. Today, the official second is measured by atoms, cesium atoms to be exact, and how they vibrate. Their internal dance is steady and exact. They never get tired, never late. A clock made from cesium can stay accurate for millions of years. A perfect rhythm, a perfect hum. And yet, that hum doesn't mean anything without you. You give meaning to a second by what you do with it, by noticing it, breathing through it, letting it arrive without rushing it out the door. Tonight, each second is a stepping stone into stillness. Each breath you take is a hand placed gently on the passage of time saying, I see you, I'm here. You may ask, why do we measure time at all? Why break life into pieces so small we can barely feel them? Maybe because, deep down, we know how fragile time is, how quickly it runs, how we want to hold on to something that won't stop moving. By counting seconds, we hope to catch a little more of life, to make it last just a bit longer. But perhaps the secret isn't in counting, but in noticing. Notice how your chest rises. That's a second. Notice how your thoughts drift towards sleep. That's another. The warmth in your limbs, the quiet hush in the room, the slow settling of your breath. These are all seconds, and they are yours. As you lie here, the seconds no longer rush past. They arrive gently like footsteps on soft sand. You don't need to chase them. You only need to rest in them. There is nowhere else to be. No clock to obey. Only this moment and the next, until even those fall away. And just before sleep reaches you fully, you wonder, if a second is this alive, then what other kinds of clocks are hidden inside you? You are still now, but inside you time is moving. Quietly, faithfully, like a tide you were born into. Not the ticking kind you wear on your wrist, but a more ancient rhythm, one you didn't choose and one you cannot stop. It beats in your blood, sways with your breath, whispers through your skin. You're not just in time, you're made of it. Your heart is the first clock you ever met. Before you knew words, before you opened your eyes, it was already counting, beat by beat, steady. It never learned the numbers, but it always knew the rhythm. Even now, as you lie here listening to the hush of your own body, that quiet thud in your chest keeps time with life itself. But that's only one rhythm. Your body holds many. Beneath your skin are clocks you've never seen. One of them wakes you up. Another tells you when to feel hungry. One makes you sleepy just as the stars appear. These are not machines with gears and hands. These are your circadian rhythm, inner tides ruled by light and shadow, day and night. The word circadian means about a day. These clocks don't follow minutes or seconds. They follow the sky. When morning light hits your eyes, it tells a tiny cluster of neurons deep in your brain, called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, that the day has begun. It's your master clock. From there, like a gentle conductor, it signals the rest of your body's timekeepers, your liver, your lungs, your skin, that it's time to wake, stretch, begin. But the light doesn't just wake your body, it shapes your chemistry. Morning light quiets the hormone called melatonin, the one that invites sleep. At night, when the world dims and the screens go dark, melatonin rises again, tugging softly at your eyelids, whispering, "It's time to rest." Even your temperature follows a pattern. You may not notice, but your body cools slightly before bed, a natural signal that sleep is near. Every part of you is part of a dance. Inhale, exhale, rise, fall, sleep, wake. And though the world outside rushes ahead, these ancient rhythms remain, steady and slow, like the turning of the earth beneath you. You're not alone in this. All living things carry their own ticking. Plants open their leaves in the sun and fold them gently in the dark. Flowers bloom with the rising light. Birds begin to sing before dawn even colours the sky. Time lives in everything that breathes. And what happens when this rhythm is broken? When you stay up too late under harsh blue lights? When your meals come at strange hours? When the sky outside doesn't match your world inside? Your inner clocks begin to drift. Not all at once, not loudly, but enough that you feel it. A fog in your thoughts, a heaviness in your limbs, a mood that doesn't quite settle. Jet lag's a perfect example. Your body's clock's out of sync with the sun. You might land in a new place, but your blood is still back home, confused. It takes time, usually a day for each time zone crossed, for your inner rhythms to resync with the light. Until then, it's like a song playing slightly offbeat. Even your gut has a clock. Scientists now know that your digestion runs better during the day and slows at night. Late-night snacks, while comforting, can throw off this careful timing, making your body feel like it's working overtime when it should be resting. When your inner clocks are aligned, everything feels smoother, sleep is deeper, thoughts are clearer, energy flows. And yet you rarely think of yourself as a clock. You are a being, soft, alive, feeling. But the truth is, you're a timekeeper too. Not mechanical, but biological. A living metronome tuned to Earth's gentle spin. Even your dreams may be timed. REM sleep, the stage where dreams flicker behind closed eyes. comes in cycles. About every 90 minutes, your brain drifts into a new dreamscape, and by morning, as your core temperature rises, the body begins to stir before your mind even knows it. You are a sunrise, a sunset, a breath caught between those two edges. Now think of how your life is shaped by time without clocks, how your body knows things before you tell it, how you feel sluggish on rainy days, energized by sunlight, how you sometimes wake just before your alarm, as if something in you knew the exact moment before it arrived. There is a memory inside your bones of living in harmony with the world outside, before lights, before schedules, before alarms. Back then, people rose with dawn and slept with stars. Meals came when the fire was ready, not when the brake bell rang. The body and the earth were in conversation, and though much has changed, that memory remains in you. You might wonder, if your body's a clock, what is it measuring? Time, yes, but also balance, harmony. It's measuring you, your energy, your needs, your place in the days-long story. It doesn't tick like a machine, it pulses like a tide. And as you lie here, you begin to listen. You hear the slow, even breath, the gentle rhythm in your chest. You feel the coolness of night pressing softly on your skin. Your body, sensing the quiet, begins to drift. You're sinking gently to something older than alarms and deadlines. You're slipping into the rhythm that carried your ancestors through firelight and forest, sea and sky. And in this moment, just this moment, you're not just living in time, you are keeping it. And as sleep begins to pull you inward, you wonder, almost dreamily, if your body holds such clocks, how does time move through the world beneath your feet? Time does not wait for you, but it does flow beside you, always moving, always changing, like a gentle river brushing against its banks. You lie still tonight, and yet you drift. The world seems quiet, your body calm, but beneath that stillness time slips past, winding, curling, carrying moments away even as they unfold. You try to catch it, this moment, this breath. But already it belongs to the past. Already it has become memory. That is the strange truth of time. You live only in the present, but even the present is always on its way out the door. A philosopher once said you cannot step into the same river twice. The water has moved on. So have you. And time, like that river, never repeats itself. The sky you see tonight will never be arranged quite the same again. Your body will never hold this exact breath again. The cells inside you are older now than they were a few heartbeats ago. It seems so steady. A second, a minute, an hour. But time is more flexible than we once thought. More personal, more alive. When Albert Einstein looked at the universe, he didn't see a giant ticking clock. He saw something fluid, something that changed depending on where you were and how fast you were moving. Time, he said, is not absolute. This idea, the relativity of time, means that time can stretch or shrink depending on your speed or your position in space. If you stand still while someone else moves quickly, their time moves just a little slower than yours. Not enough for you to notice in everyday life. But out there, far away, at speeds near the speed of light, those differences begin to bloom into something strange and beautiful. Imagine you're in a spaceship moving close to the speed of light. To you, everything inside feels normal. Your breath, your thoughts, your heartbeat. But to someone watching from Earth, your time appears to slow down. Your seconds become stretched. You're still aging, still living, just more slowly, as if time itself is pausing for you. This is not science fiction. This is how the universe works. Time bends, curves, softens. It can be pulled by gravity, stretched by speed. The closer you are to something heavy, like a planet or a black hole, the slower time moves for you compared to someone farther away. Right now, time ticks just a little faster at the top of a mountain than it does at sea level. Just a tiny bit. The difference is so small you'd never feel it, but the clocks know. Atomic clocks on mountaintops run slightly ahead of those below. Gravity, even gentle gravity, bends time ever so slightly downward. This idea that time is affected by gravity is something your body understands more than you realize. You feel it in the way your limbs grow heavy when you're tired, in the way days stretch when you're waiting, in how time flies when you're with someone you love. It's not just emotion, it's sensation. Your mind makes time feel long or short depending on where it is and how it feels. Even your dreams follow this strange rhythm. A dream can last minutes or feel like hours, yet it only fills a few seconds of REM sleep. Time inside your mind doesn't always follow the same rules as time outside. This is part of the river too. Its waters twist not just through space but through thought. Think of how memories flow, how some days from your past glow with detail, while others vanish without a trace. Time does not move at one speed through your life. It loops, it stretches, it floods. You remember childhood like a wide, slow stream. Then teenage years rush forward, then slow again in moments of loss or change. Time listens to emotion more than it listens to clocks. Scientists call this psychological time, and it's shaped by attention and feeling. The more present you are, the more time seems to expand. A sunset noticed can feel endless. A minute of panic can feel like an hour. And sometimes, a whole day goes by without you remembering a single thing. Time doesn't vanish. It just moves through you without anchoring. So tonight, you rest in the flow. You are not fighting it. You are letting it carry you. And as you float, consider this. In Einstein's universe, time and space are woven together into something called space-time, a fabric that can stretch and bend like silk in water. You're sitting on that fabric right now. So is the moon, so are the stars, and as they move, they ripple the fabric gently like leaves drifting across a still pond. If a planet or a star is heavy enough, its presence creates a dip in space-time, and anything passing too close falls inward, pulled not just by gravity but by curved time. Black holes, for instance, bend time so deeply that near their edges time nearly stops. If you could hover there, right at the edge, you might witness 1 billion years pass in the universe while only minutes passed for you. Time becomes slow, time becomes thin, time becomes strange. But you don't need to be near a black hole to feel time's softness. Right now, here in your room, it slows as your body relaxes. Each breath stretches into the next. Each thought fades into quiet. You're stepping into the river not to change it, but to feel it. Not once, but endlessly, always new. You might wonder, if time flows like a river, then where does it begin? Where does it end? And if the present is already the past before you can hold it, is there a place where time once stood still? You drift gently toward that thought, to the silence before ticking, before rhythm, before even the first second was born. Chapter 4. The Deep Time Beneath Your Feet. Word count, 1,000. You lie still, the weight of blankets around you like soft layers of earth. Beneath you, far below the floor, below the roots and soil, the planet holds time in its own quiet language. Not in seconds or minutes, but in stone, in pressure, in patience. The Earth does not hurry, and yet it changes everything. You live in human time, days, weeks, years. You mark birthdays, count sunrises, plan seasons. But under your feet is a different kind of time. It is slow, almost silent. You can't see it pass. You can't feel it tick. But it's there, deep time, as old as the world itself. Imagine peeling back the surface layer by layer. First the soil, then the bedrock, then the ancient folds of the Earth's crust. Each layer holds a story, a memory, a moment captured not in ink but in mineral. Fossils curled in stone like closed eyes. Ripples frozen in sediment from rivers that no longer flow. Volcanoes that once breathed fire, now still and asleep. This is how Earth remembers, not with clocks, but with layers, each one a whisper from a different age. Geologists read this memory like a book. They call it the geologic timescale, a calendar of the Earth stretching back over 4.5 billion years. It begins in a place so distant it almost feels like myth, the Hadean Eon, when Earth was new, still molten, still forming its skin. Back then there were no oceans, no plants, no footprints, only fire and stone. Then came the Archean, when the crust cooled, and the first signs of life, tiny single-celled whispers, began to stir in the sea. Time moved slowly, yet faithfully. Life took its first breath in silence. Next came the Proterozoic, and finally, the Phanerozoic, the eon we live in now. But even that last chapter, the one we belong to, is unimaginably long. Dinosaurs walked the Earth just yesterday. if deep time were a clock, human history, all of it, would barely fill the final second before midnight. You begin to feel it now, this scale of time. Your own life, so full, so vivid, is just a flicker, a single sparkle in the layers of stone. But that does not make it small, it makes it precious. Sedimentary rocks, the layered ones, are where time shows its face most clearly. Sand becomes sandstone, mud becomes shale, shells and coral become limestone. These rocks are born in water, slowly pressed together over ages, as if the earth is tucking its stories into beds of stone. And sometimes, inside those layers, something waits. A fossil, a leaf, a tooth, a shell. Tiny remnants of life, caught and held for millions of years, like a photograph pressed between pages. The earth doesn't forget, it only hides and waits. There is a kind of comfort in this slowness. The way continents drift apart not in hours but in inches per year. The way mountains rise like breath, one slow inhale over 10 million years. Even the Grand Canyon with its dizzying cliffs and painted walls is not a scar of sudden change. It's a love letter written by water, over eons. You begin to realize the ground you walk on was once ocean floor. The stones in your garden may be older than your species. The dust on your bookshelf may carry atoms from ancient volcanoes, from stars, from the bones of creatures long extinct. The minerals in your body, the calcium in your teeth, the iron in your blood, were forged in the hearts of long-dead stars, folded into the earth, drawn into life. You are in every sense made of geologic memory, and the earth keeps going. Even now it is shifting. The crust trembles in quiet ways. Tectonic plates sliding, colliding, sinking into molten rock. Earthquakes mark sudden moments, but behind them are slow, relentless movements. Movements older than civilization. Ice tells time too. In Antarctica and Greenland, scientists drill deep into glaciers and pull out cylinders of ancient ice. Ice that fell as snow hundreds of thousands of years ago. Each layer, like a ring in a tree, holds traces of the air, the temperature, the atmosphere. The earth, breathing in and out long before you ever took your first breath. Tonight, you may feel still, but the ground beneath you is not frozen. It hums in slow motion. It changes shape over spans of time too wide to see, and in that motion, the earth holds its memory, a memory you are part of. So as you drift closer to sleep, you begin to wonder, if the earth tells time in layers, how far back can we truly see, and what secrets are still buried waiting to be found? You lie still beneath your ceiling, but your mind drifts upward, beyond rooftops, beyond the gentle hum of the world. Outside, the sky stretches wide and dark, a vast ocean scattered with points of light. Stars, tiny flickers, silent and far. They seem to shine for you, but their light began its journey long before you ever looked up. That star you see, it might be 100 years away, or 1,000, or 2 million. The glow touching your eye now left that star when the world was different, when the trees outside your window were saplings, or when your grandparents hadn't yet been born. Some of this light began travelling before the first humans ever spoke, and yet, here it is, a tiny photon having crossed unimaginable space, finally landing softly on your skin. This is how space works, not in present tense, but in layers of memory. The farther you look, the older the light becomes. In this way, the sky is not just wide, it is deep. Each star is not just a point, but a story frozen mid-sentence. When you gaze up, you're looking backward in time. The speed of the light is very fast, about 300,000 kilometers per second, fast enough to circle Earth 7 times in a single second. But space is so vast that even at this tremendous speed, light still takes time to travel. That's why the moon's light takes about 1 second to reach you. Sunlight takes a little over 8 minutes, and light from the next nearest star takes over 4 years. Telescopes let us stretch this backward gaze even further. Some can see galaxies whose light began its journey billions of years ago. When astronomers look through these instruments, they don't see how things are now. They see how things were. Telescopes are time machines. They show us the ancient universe, not as a memory in our minds, but as light still arriving. And what about that light? What is it, really? Light is energy. A wave, a particle, a messenger. It travels in straight lines unless something bends it, like a gravity well or a raindrop. It carries colour and warmth, and it moves without needing anything to carry it. Unlike sound, which needs air, light can travel through the emptiness of space, through silence, through darkness, through time. Each beam of starlight you see is a survivor. It passed through dust, gas, magnetic fields, across millions of years, without fading, until now, until this very moment. And now, it enters your eye, touches your retina, and becomes part of what you know. Your body becomes a home for ancient light. The stars you see tonight might no longer exist. Some may have died, gone quiet, collapsed into themselves. But their light, already in motion, keeps going. It tells their story long after they've gone. In that way, the universe speaks to you in echoes, and you, sitting still in your moment, receive them, like postcards from the past. Even the colour of starlight carries time. Some stars burn blue, young and hot. Others glow orange, cooler, nearing the ends of their lives. Red dwarfs flicker slowly, living longer than most. White dwarfs shine faintly, quietly, like coals left in an old fire. These colours aren't just decoration, they are clocks. By studying the light, astronomers can tell how old a star is, how big it is, and even what elements it's made from. Hydrogen, helium, carbon, the same elements found in your body, in your breath, in the iron in your blood. You're not just looking at stars, you're looking at your own history scattered across space. Because the universe is expanding, galaxies are moving away from each other, like dots on a balloon being gently inflated, and the farther they are, the faster they recede. This stretching of space also stretches the light, shifting it toward the red end of the spectrum. Scientists call it redshift, and it's another way the universe keeps time. By measuring redshift, we can calculate distance, motion, and even how fast the universe is growing, and from this we learn not only where we are, but when we are, a moment within a much larger unfolding. There's comfort in this. You, lying in your bed, are not just a dot in space. You are part of a moving, glowing story. The atoms in your body were once part of stars. The heat from your skin echoes the Big Bang. And the light that touches you tonight connects you to the very beginning of time. Sometimes you might feel small, just a person under a sky full of stars. But remember, you are made of stars. You're the past becoming present. You are the light that continues. Even your thoughts, quiet as they are now, are built from energy moving through neurons, sparked by tiny electrical pulses. Light, in its own way, also lives inside you. And now, as you rest here, breathing slowly, the sky keeps watching. The stars keep arriving. Not all at once, not in a hurry, but steadily, like waves on a distant shore. The constellations shift gently overhead, not because they move quickly, but because Earth turns beneath them. You feel it now, the spin of the planet, the drift of galaxies, the hush of light arriving from across time. There is no rush, only movement, only presence, only the soft shimmer of ancient stories becoming part of your own. And as your body quiets, as your thoughts float further from the present, you wonder, if light can travel this far for this long, what might it show us about the very first flicker, the moment when time itself began to glow? Close your eyes and imagine a moment that isn't a moment at all, a place that exists outside the flow you've always known. No ticking, no rhythm, no before, no after, just stillness. Not quiet like a room after a storm, but quiet like nothingness before sound was born. This is not easy to picture. Your mind is used to time. It wraps around every thought, every heartbeat, every memory. You measure your life in moments, big and small. The warmth of a sunrise, the sound of laughter, the fall of a leaf. Even the space between your breaths is shaped by time. So what happens when time itself isn't there? Long ago, longer than numbers can reach, there was no universe, no space, no planets, no stars, and perhaps no time, not yet. The clock had not started. Physicists call this the pre-Big Bang state, a mystery wrapped in silence. Some theories say the universe came from a single, unimaginably dense point, a singularity, where all matter, energy and space were crumpled into one. But what was before that? Was there a before at all? That's where time begins to lose its meaning. In our world, we're used to causes and effects. Things happen in order. You eat and then feel full. You speak and then are heard. But in the realm before the Big Bang, there may have been no then, no sequence, no unfolding, just potential, still compact, resting on the edge of becoming. Time, as we understand it, is deeply tied to motion and change. Without change, time has nothing to count. It's like a song without a melody, or a dance without steps. If everything is still, perfectly still, does time move at all? You might think of time like a string stretched across the universe, but really time is more like a thread that weaves itself with the fabric of space. Space and time are one cloth, space-time, and when space came into being, time came with it. They were born together, twins in a single breath. So when we speak of the beginning of time, we're not just talking about a tick of a clock. We're talking about the birth of everything, the expansion, the blooming of the cosmos, from something that wasn't quite nothing into everything that is. And it happened in less than a blink. The Big Bang wasn't a bang like an explosion, not a burst from a point into space. It was space itself expanding, stretching, unfolding, not into emptiness, but creating space as it moved. And as it stretched, time began. Like light touching a surface, like the first breath in a newborn's chest. In that moment, time took its first step. The earliest moments of the universe were unimaginably hot and dense, a broth of particles and light, flickering with energy and uncertainty. Time moved then, but differently than it does now, faster, stranger, like a river still finding its path. For the tiniest fraction of a second, the universe expanded faster than light, a phase called cosmic inflation. During this time, space ballooned, smoothed, and cooled. It laid the foundation for galaxies, stars, and planets to one day form. Time, now counting steadily, had found its rhythm. But even now, cosmologists wonder, what triggered this beginning? Was it the only one? Could time have a cycle, repeating endlessly across eons? Could there be other universes, each with its own ticking, each with its own version of beginning? These aren't questions science can answer easily, but sometimes it's not the answers that matter. Sometimes it's the wonder, the invitation to drift beyond the edges of what you know into a sky where even time forgets its name. There are theories, quiet and strange, that suggest time might not be fundamental at all, that it's not the fabric, but a shadow, something that emerges only when matter and motion appear. Without them, the shadow disappears. Without something to change, nothing needs to change over time. Imagine being at the center of a calm so deep it has no direction. You don't wait, you don't move, you don't expect. Because time hasn't started and there is no next. In this timeless void, quantum possibilities may shimmer like dew in starlight. Not things, not yet, but the potential for things. Like seeds resting in soil, waiting for the warmth that will let them bloom. And then warmth came. From stillness, motion. From potential, a spark. From nothing that was truly nothing came everything that could be. A burst that wasn't a sound but a becoming. A soft unfolding, and suddenly there was a difference between before and after. Time had meaning. The universe began to write its story. It would be billions of years before stars formed, before light could travel freely. For a long time, the cosmos was dark, a silent nursery of matter waiting for shape. But time was already moving, steady, slow, sacred. As you lie here, your breath quiet and even, think of this. Your body, your thoughts, your memories, all of them only exist because time moves forward, because change is possible, because that first spark still echoes through every heartbeat, and yet, something in you still carries the hush of the before, the timeless pause that came before rhythm, the stillness from which all motion is born. You may not remember it, but you feel it, sometimes in dreams, sometimes in silence, sometimes in awe. The sense that everything had to begin somewhere, even if that somewhere was no place at all. And so, tonight, you rest at the edge of a question. If time began in motion, Where then does it go inside your mind? When memory moves in circles and time begins to bend, you lie back, eyes closed, and time softens its grip. The ticking of clocks fades, the day's demands loosen, and without effort your mind begins to drift. Not forward, but backward, into memory, into places you didn't plan to visit. A smell, a word, a whisper of music, and suddenly you're somewhere else. Memory doesn't follow rules. It doesn't care about sequence or calendar. It moves like light through fog, pausing, skipping, returning. One moment you're in the present. The next you're sitting at a childhood table watching the shape of a parent's hands. The present blurs and the past takes colour again. Your brain is not a library with neat shelves of dated events. It's more like a dreamscape, woven from feelings, impressions, flickers of images. Time in your memory bends like a path through tall grass. Not straight, not paved, but personal. You walk it differently each time. Some memories feel close, no matter how far they are in years. Others feel distant even if they happened yesterday. A week can vanish without a trace, while a single afternoon from years ago glows bright, untouched by time's erosion. Why? Because memory doesn't just record. It edits. It highlights emotion. When something moves you deeply, love, fear, wonder, it stamps itself into your mind more vividly. That's why time can feel so uneven. A joyful hour feels short, a painful one long. A summer as a child feels infinite, while adult years sometimes blur into each other like rain on glass. Your brain does this on purpose. It compresses uneventful stretches. It magnifies novelty. That's why firsts, first kiss, first heartbreak, first flight, stand out so sharply. They disrupted the rhythm. They made time feel thicker, fuller, more real. Scientists believe your brain has two major ways of encoding memory: explicit and implicit. Explicit memories are ones you can name, recall, describe, like your last birthday or the first time you saw snow. Implicit ones are quieter, stored in the way your body tenses at a certain sound, or how you instinctively know the steps to a song you haven't heard in years. Both kinds live in you. Both shape how time feels, and inside your brain, different areas play different roles. The hippocampus, deep in the center, helps form and organize new memories, deciding what gets kept and what gets let go. The amygdala attaches emotion to those memories, coloring them with joy or sadness or fear. Sometimes the past returns not as a story but as sensation, a chill when you hear a certain tone, a comfort when a familiar scent floats by. These are echoes, not of time itself, but of how time once felt. There's also the strange fact that you never remember the moment itself, only your last memory of it. Each time you recall something, your brain slightly rewrites it. A memory is like a letter you keep rereading and redrafting. It stays alive by changing, and yet it still feels real, sometimes more real than the present. That's why memory can feel both true and dreamlike. Why something long gone can bring tears to your eyes or peace to your heart. It is not the past you're holding, it's the shape your mind gives to it now. And memory is not just personal, it's also collective. We carry not only our own memories, but stories told by others. Your grandmother's tales, your father's laughter, the music that shaped your childhood, all become part of your inner time. These shared moments form bridges between people, weaving lives together across decades. Memory is also how you make sense of yourself. Without it, there's no you that stretches through time. You would wake each day as someone new. It is memory that ties the thread between your past and your present. It's not perfect, it's not complete, but it's yours. And yet, your memory isn't endless. It forgets. Sometimes gently, sometimes sharply. You lose names, dates, places, faces blur, whole seasons fade. But even forgetting has its purpose. The brain protects you, prioritizes, makes space for what matters now. Some memories, though, resist forgetting. Trauma can anchor time in place, making a moment replay again and again, as if the body doesn't know how to let go. In those cases, time doesn't move forward, it circles. Healing then becomes not just physical but temporal, a chance to help time start again. Dreams, too, are memories. sometimes scrambled, sometimes stitched from things that never happened. In dreams, time stretches beyond logic. You live hours in seconds, feel lifetimes in a blink. These nightly voyages show just how fluid time can be inside your mind. And as you rest here, floating between awareness and sleep, you feel a strange power of memory. The way it doesn't ask permission, the way it carries you, sometimes against your will, sometimes with the sweetness of an old friend's voice. Tonight, maybe you remember a walk at dusk, or a moment of laughter beneath a tree, or a silence that once meant everything. These are your time travel machines, more subtle than telescopes, but just as powerful. They let you visit places that no longer exist, with people who may no longer be near, and yet, the memory remains. You might wonder, if your mind can bend time, hold it, even relive it. What happens when time doesn't flow in just one direction, but loops, folding in on itself, echoing back, rewriting the present in whispers from the future? You've always known time as something that moves forward, step by step, sunrise to sunset, birth to memory. But what if time isn't a straight path at all? What if it curls, folds, or stutters? Tonight, you gently leave the smooth roads behind and step into a strange garden where time twists like vines. Here, in the realm of the quantum, the very smallest scales of nature, time behaves more like a question than an answer. You shrink your thoughts, soften your gaze, and drift into a world where particles flicker in and out of existence, and events do not always obey order. Imagine a particle, so small it defies location, so uncertain it can be in two places at once. These are the rules of quantum mechanics. Down here, reality dances. Time does not always march forward. Sometimes it pauses. Sometimes it loops. Physicists have discovered that at the quantum level, cause and effect can blur. An event can depend not just on what happened before, but what might happen next. It's called retrocausality, the idea that the future can influence the past, or at least that time might not care which way it flows. You might pause here. You've never lived your life backward. You wake, you eat, you sleep, always forward. But particles don't seem to mind which way time moves. Some equations work equally well in either direction, like a river that flows both upstream and down depending on how you tilt your head. In one experiment, researchers entangled two particles, tiny twins, connected in ways no one fully understands. They separated them, changed the state of one, and instantly the other changed too, as if time and space didn't exist between them. Some theories suggest the second particle knew what would happen to the first before it even occurred. It sounds like magic, but it's science, and it tells us that time is not as rigid as we once thought. Underneath the world you know, the clocks and calendars, the aging and remembering, is a deeper layer where time behaves more like a spiral than a line. Think of a loop. You may have felt one before, in dreams. A moment repeats. A hallway never ends. You try to move forward, but find yourself back where you began. This isn't just imagination. Some physicists believe time can loop. Not for you and me, not in this everyday world, but inside black holes, or in the early universe, or maybe in the multiverse. Time loops are like ripples that fold back on themselves, a feedback echo, a possibility that what will happen already has, and what has happened might be undone. Could such a loop trap information forever? Could it explain déjà vu, that sudden feeling of being here before? Or those strange coincidences when the past seems to echo across years, whispering secrets from one version of you to another? It's hard to say. Even time travel, once a dream of fiction, is not fully dismissed by science. The equations of general relativity allow for what are called closed time-like curves, paths through space-time that could, in theory, return to their starting point. A circle, not a line. But there are limits, paradoxes. If you went back and changed something, would you erase the future? Could you undo your own birth? These puzzles aren't just science, they're philosophy. They show us how delicate our understanding of time really is. And yet, you don't need a time machine to feel time looping. You loop in thought, in memory, in routine. You relive conversations, revisit old wounds, repeat habits. Life itself contains spirals, not in defiance of time, but woven into its rhythm. Seasons turn, the moon returns, you mark anniversaries and return to places that once held joy or sorrow. These loops are not perfect circles, They are spirals, wide or tight, always slightly different, always coloured by change. Even your heartbeat is a loop. Your breath, sleep, waking. The way you circle through moods, thoughts, dreams. In this sense, you live inside time loops already. Not science fiction, but quiet truth. And as you lie here, listening to the hush around you, your mind might feel a memory stir. One that doesn't belong to today. It circles in. Not to disrupt, but to remind. The past is never far. The future is never fixed. At the edge of physics, some theories even suggest that time is not fundamental, that it's an illusion, a tool your brain uses to make sense of change, like pages in a flipbook, played in sequence to create motion. But the pages are all still there, layered in order, waiting. So what if every moment you've ever lived still exists, somewhere, like a frame in a film strip? What if every future possibility already waits, ready to unfold when your awareness meets it? The idea isn't meant to confuse you, it's meant to comfort you. Time is not a chain dragging you forward, it is a sea, sometimes calm, sometimes full of waves. You're not merely swept along, you are part of the current, part of the pattern, part of the repeating, unfolding dance. And just before sleep takes you, you feel something gentle inside you spiral, not around and around, but inward, toward a quiet center. And you wonder, with soft curiosity, if time can echo and curve and fold, what other rhythms are hiding in nature's memory, quietly recording the passing of each year, each day, each silent ring. You are quiet now, your breath soft, your body still, but around you the earth is always counting, not in seconds, not in ticking hands or flashing screens, but in slow, steady marks, in silence and in growth. Time, here, is not a thing to chase. It's something the world holds, carefully, gently, like a memory written into bark and bone. Outside, in a forest that has stood longer than your lifetime, a tree reaches slowly toward the sky. It doesn't rush. It has no calendar, but it counts all the same, not with numbers but with rings. Each ring in a tree's trunk is a quiet record of a year gone by. A pale line for a spring of growth, a darker line for the denser wood of late summer. Together they form a circle. Wide if the year was kind, narrow if it was dry or cold. These rings are nature's diary, pressed deep into its own body. And they don't just count years, they tell stories. A wildfire may leave a scar. A drought may slow the ring so thin it's barely there. A year of rich rain might swell the wood in joy. Even pollution, storms, and strange weather patterns leave their signatures. Scientists can read these rings and learn what the sky once did, what the soil once held, how the climate has changed. This practice is called dendrochronology, the science of tree ring dating. And it's not new. Ancient civilizations noticed it long before we gave it a name. They saw the layers and wondered what they meant. They touched time with their fingertips, not knowing they were holding history. And it's not just trees. Elsewhere, beneath glaciers, ice holds time too. Each snowfall presses into layers of frozen memory. Year after year, snow falls, compresses and seals in tiny bubbles of ancient air. Scientists drill down, deep into the ice, and extract these long cylinders, ice cores, that stretch back hundreds of thousands of years. Each layer holds the secrets of its season, the temperature, the chemicals in the atmosphere, even the ash of distant volcanoes. One core from Antarctica holds nearly 800,000 years of history frozen in place. The Earth breathes through these layers, each one a quiet exhale from a year long gone. Even coral keeps time. Beneath the waves, these tiny creatures build their skeletons from calcium, layer upon layer, in rhythms tied to the moon, the tides, and the seasons. Their growth bands, much like those of trees, track the rise and fall of oceans, the temperature of water, and the chemistry of their environment. Together, these natural timekeepers form a network of memory. They are not clocks, they do not tick, but they remember, patiently, clearly. And unlike our memories, which fade and shift, theirs remain, waiting to be read. You might think time belongs to humans, that we invented it, organized it, gave it structure. But long before the first sundial or calendar, the Earth was already marking time in its own way, with rock, with ice, with wood, with shells. These are the calendars that don't need names for months or numbers for days. And while your life is made of fleeting moments, conversations, choices, dreams, theirs are made of endurance. A glacier never hurries. A tree doesn't skip a year. Their memories are slow and deep and still. Or imagine standing before an ancient tree, wide, knotted, wise. It began growing before your grandparents were born, perhaps before your country existed, maybe even before the language you're thinking in tonight had taken form, and it has stood there, through war and peace, storm and sun, quietly adding rings, never stopping, always counting. And as you breathe now, you realize your own body carries rhythms too. Your bones replace themselves slowly. Your skin turns over in steady cycles. Even your teeth hold traces of childhood in their layers. You too are made of time, not just in memory, but in matter. There is something comforting in knowing that time does not need to be rushed, that it can be slow, subtle, and still important, that trees can wait decades to stretch a few inches higher, that glaciers take centuries to drift across a valley, that coral can grow for 1,000 years beneath the waves unseen. You don't always have to move quickly. You can rest. You can grow in quiet ways. Time will still be with you, not chasing, but holding. And the earth, in its wisdom, keeps the record. Not to measure you, but to accompany you. Like a soft observer, always watching, never judging. Its memory is not sharp or loud, but tender, like the hush of wind through tall grass, like the weight of snow on a sleeping forest. So tonight, as your body settles into sleep, you might imagine yourself as part of this great, slow clock. You are a ring in the wood, a layer in the ice, a ripple in the coral. You're not separate from nature's time. You're stitched into it. And just before your thoughts drift fully into dream, you wonder, if the earth remembers through trees and ice and coral, what does it dream of as it turns, quietly, faithfully, through the night? Here you are, in this moment, this breath, this heartbeat. It feels like the center of everything, the now. It feels still, solid, yours, and yet, even as you notice it, it's already gone. The present moment, the now, is where you believe you live, where your thoughts arise, where your hands move, where your life unfolds. But if you listen closely, you can almost feel it slipping, 1 second into the past, then another, always fading, always arriving. Scientists, philosophers, and poets have long asked the same question you ask now, in this quiet room. What is the present, really? Is it something real and fixed? Or is it something your mind creates, a spotlight on a stage that's always moving? Your body feels time as a flow, but physics suggests something stranger. That flow might be an illusion. In the world of space-time, Einstein's fabric of the universe, time is not a river with one direction. It's a dimension, like space. And in that fabric, every moment that has ever happened still exists. The past is not gone. The future is not waiting. All of it, every second, every breath, is laid out side by side. Imagine a film reel, each frame a still image. To you, watching the movie, it plays smoothly. But in reality, each frame exists at once. You only perceive movement because your mind moves through the frames in order. Now imagine the film is your life. Every now just a frame, every one of them still there. But your mind cannot hold all of time. It can only focus on one small frame at once. So it creates the illusion of now, a window, just a few seconds wide, through which your awareness looks out. This window is called the specious present, just long enough for you to hear a sentence, feel a touch, finish a thought. And this is enough. You don't need the whole reel, just this moment. But if you slow down and pay attention, you may notice that your sense of now stretches and shrinks. Time can feel suspended, in awe, in danger, in silence. It can feel sticky, like waiting in line, or featherlight, like laughter with a friend. The present isn't fixed, it breathes. This is because your brain edits reality. Light enters your eyes, sound reaches your ears, but these signals don't arrive all at once. Your brain waits about half a second, and then weaves them into a coherent now. You never feel that delay. Instead, you feel smoothness, the illusion of a perfect moment unfolding in real time. Even stranger, scientists have discovered that your brain can shift what you perceive after the fact. In some experiments, what you think you saw in the present was actually determined by something that happened a few milliseconds later. In other words, your brain rewrites the past to make sense of the now. It doesn't do this to trick you. It does this to protect you, to keep you grounded in a world that moves too fast to process in real time. Your brain is not just a machine of thought, it is a painter of time. And yet, there is beauty in this illusion. Because even if now is a trick, it's the only place you can ever be. The past is memory, the future is imagination. But the present is where your breath lives. Right now, you may be lying still, but your thoughts drift. Not to tomorrow, not to yesterday, but to this breath, this softness, this quiet hum of your own awareness. You are not lost. You are exactly here. And this moment is more than enough. Across the globe, countless nows are happening at once. A child in another city is laughing. A whale deep beneath the ocean is singing. A comet is passing unseen through the dark. And though you're not there to witness them, their moments are as real as yours. Physics tells us there is no universal now. What is now for you may not be now for someone moving fast or far away. Time is personal, relative. The present is not a single point across the cosmos. It's a local experience, like a patch of sunlight. And that's why the now is precious. Not because it is absolute, but because it is yours. You are the only one who sees the world exactly this way, from this place, in this body. This moment, fleeting, uncertain, is full of life, full of you. Sometimes we chase the present, trying to catch it like fireflies in a jar, but the present can't be held. It can only be lived. You are living it now, quietly, gently, without effort. And maybe that's enough. Because in this final chapter, you've wandered through time in every form, seconds and eons, memory and matter, stars and atoms, loops and echoes, but always you've returned to this breath. Time, as you've come to see, is not only something outside of you, written in rings, in stars, in ripples, it is also something inside you, woven through your thoughts, your senses, your stillness. And tonight, as your eyelids soften and the room fades into hush, you no longer need to hold the present so tightly. Let it pass. Let it flow. Let it be a visitor who never stays, but always returns. Soft-footed, silver-eyed, carrying the quiet weight of everything that matters. And just as your thoughts begin to dissolve into dream, you might wonder one last thing. If the now is not fixed, then where exactly do your dreams begin?